It's game day. The Oklahoma Sooners will take on the Temple Owls, but what constitutes a win? We'll discuss on today's episode of Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. And welcome to the 2024 college football season. The Oklahoma Sooners will take on the Temple Owls tonight at 6 p.m. on ESPN. And this is one of those games, Jay, that it is a massive mismatch on paper. The Oklahoma Sooners are one of the top 15 teams in the nation in SB Plus rankings. I think that they were number 13 in the final rankings ahead of the season. Temple, number 132. The Oklahoma Sooners, 16th in the AP and the USA Today coaches poll. Temple, you're not getting votes. This was a 3-9 team a year ago, lost their starting quarterback to the transfer portal. They don't know who their primary quarterback is going to be going into this week. So, Jay, my biggest question really is not if Oklahoma is going to win this game, but what really constitutes a quote-unquote win for the Sooners?
Yeah, when you look at this game, as you laid it out perfectly, first off, welcome back. We missed you yesterday. Secondly, I'm glad you're feeling better. The big thing is for Oklahoma going against a team, as you laid out, missing so many components and pieces and so many questions. Heck, their head coach said they plan on going really deep into their depth chart because they're trying to preserve their bodies. They don't have many. Now, they're not dealing with what Charlotte's dealing with, who's like has 50% of their starters not going to be able to play. My goodness. But they're also in a situation where they don't know who's what they're going to do. So for Oklahoma to really make this feel like it's a win, not only does it have to be a blowout. Now, what constitutes a blowout depends on your metrics, but since weather is kind of being considered a situation here, covering the spread to me isn't one of those metrics. But you've got to defensively show that you can keep Temple from getting a lot of big splash plays. You got to be able to control majority of the game. And I'm talking about there should be a ton of 3-and-outs for Temple. And to me, the most important piece is what does the defense look like against a team that's technically inferior?
Yeah, this is for me. I want to see that defense dominate, absolutely dominate.
Yeah.
Like there might be a few first downs here in the early going, maybe, but once everybody kind of gets their legs underneath them, after that, it should not really look like much of a football game. I mean, it should be, your high school varsity team against the freshman team. That's kind of what it should look like out there, where they might be able to make a play here or there, but it's not going to be anything consistent. No drawn out drives. Nothing in the way of competition, really. If you're playing an inferior team, you need to make it look like an inferior team. And for the offensive line, because that's going to be the question that we have for this team for several weeks, even into the season. Yeah. I want to see them dominate up front. I want to see holes being blown open for Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes. I don't want to see them getting hit in the backfield at all. Like, I don't care if Temple's blitzing 9 guys. There's no reason that those guys should be getting hit in the backfield at all. And if weather is a factor and they plan to run the ball 70 times, by all means, just run it. But I need to see you average at least 6 yards per carry for the game. And I need to see these guys getting open holes and creating big plays. Like Gavin Sawchuk was one of the best runners in breakaway percentage last year. I mean, he was right there with Ollie Gordon as far as runs of 15 yards or more as a percentage of his carries. So I expect Gavin Sawchuk to have a big day because the dude is going to create big space and big holes. This is one of those games. It's like you're seeing it on Thursday night, Missouri, blowing out Murray State. You see it with Arkansas tearing up Arkansas Pine Bluff. And that Arkansas team is not expected to be very good, right? But they just absolutely mollywopped Arkansas Pine Bluff. the same thing needs to happen for Oklahoma versus Temple.
I think also seeing everybody that does play do something that's effective to the game, right?
Yeah.
So if you're bringing in multiple running backs, you need to be getting, a good amount of yards. I do expect a minimum 100-yard rusher. You got to have a 100-yard receiver. Just the little things that we've expected for years from an Oklahoma team on the offensive side. So when you look at that part of it, I'm curious, who do you think is going to be the one that's going to get you the 100 yards on the run? Actually, if we have 200-yard rushers, who would be the second 100-yard rusher? And who do you think would be the second 100-yard wide receiver if we go ahead and do that?
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if neither Gavin Sawchuk or Javonte Barnes ran for 100, just because I don't know if they'll get enough touches necessarily to eclipse the century mark. But I could see a guy like, Taylor Tatum. I could see a Caleb Hicks, getting big run in the second half. And all it takes is really one big run, and it gets you halfway there. So like a Gavin Sawchuk could, because say he breaks one for 60, and then you're more than halfway to that point. The same could be said for wide receiver. I think it's maybe more likely to see a 100-yard wide receiver because the depth chart is maybe not as strong right now with Nick Anderson sitting out. I could see a Deion Burks or a Brennan Thompson going for 100. Or out of nowhere, maybe a Jalil Farouk starts the season off hot with all the attention that's going to be paid to your speedsters outside. Maybe Jalil Farouk gets a little bit more opportunity. What about you? Where do you feel like this is going to be something that happens? Do you feel like you could have multiple 100-yard receivers or rushers?
I feel like there will be multiple 100-yard rushers, and to constitute, success for Oklahoma in this game outside of the W, I feel like you kind of need to have more than 100-yard rusher. I think it will show that the focus is in the run game and actually seeing success in the run game. We've all had concerns or questions or whatnot about, what the offensive line and everything is going to look like. Having 200-yard rushers in this game will probably quiet a lot of people. Regardless of it being Temple or not, Temple is still a Division I football program, still with dudes over 280 and 300 pounders out there. So they've got guys, but they shouldn't have guys that are better than yours, which is kind of my point. So I kind of expect to see some 100-yarders. I want to see 2. And in the wide receiver room, right? I don't know if the starters will get you 100, but I could totally see the backups getting you a couple 100-yard, receiving, because as you said, the question is how many snaps are we going to actually see? And I know the team's going to be cautious because if weather is a factor, why put yourself in harm's way with dudes that you're going to need when you get close to the SEC play? So I can totally see that coming from guys that are in the second or even the third string, right? Your 3. Maybe. Right. Some of your freshmen get out there, get some numbers, right? I remember when Jackson Arnold last year, he threw 11 for 117 yards in the first game. I can see that happening again with the Michael Hawkins, which will make sense. It will be interesting too, is seeing if Michael Hawkins gets 100 yards passing and rushing in this game.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to watch. And something we'll talk about here in a second when we talk about freshmen to watch. Who do you think scores the first touchdown for Oklahoma this season?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to say Gavin Sawchuk. I think he breaks out on a run and he just is gone. I think that's the first touchdown.
Yeah, I asked that one on Twitter/X, and that was a very popular one. Bauer Sharp was actually kind of an underrated option as well, which I could very well see that happening. A lot of folks putting some defensive scores out there as their first touchdown of the season, which, hey, why not? You got guys like Danny Stutzman and Billy
Bowman interception?
Yeah. Pick 6, Billy Bowman. I mean, that's definitely certainly plausible. I want to go with the running back as well, but I'll go with Javonte Barnes. I think they're going to want to get those two, Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes, going early and often, and then get them out of there. Like they're going to overextend them. They'll give them a half. They'll play them both a bunch, try and get them both at least 10 carries in the game, and then bounce them. But I think Javonte Barnes gets a goal line score out of this one. We got some freshmen that are going to be very intriguing to watch coming up. We'll discuss which freshmen we're most excited about, keys to the game, and we'll give you our pick, as well as games we're going to be watching on Saturday and Sunday coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
So when it comes to meal prep and being prepared to eat, I have a tendency of being too busy. And when it comes to my kids, from soccer practice to volleyball to basketball. We get home late or they need something quick to eat. That's why I love Factor, man. You should check them out. They've got over 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from. And every week, you always have new flavors to explore. We jump into a few. Like one I love is their smoked Gouda chicken. Oh, it's fantastic. And the kids eat it up. The best part about it is that it's good for crushing all of your wellness goals. You know, they got dietitian approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. And so because of that, the kids can grab it 2 minutes in the microwave and boom, they've got themselves a healthy meal, especially if they want to be world-class athletes. They got to put world-class food into their system. So you got to check it out. Head over to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. That's 50, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That code LOCKEDONCollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning championship is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts. For your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. College football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before the season kicks off. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12. You can get it all from Locked On's stable of college experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Locked On College Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, which freshman are you most excited to see take the field on Friday night?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go back to what I said before, Michael Hawkins, man. I'm really excited to see him come out there with the reserves and make it happen because the expectation is that we're going to go through this game rather quickly, and by halftime, we should start seeing our two deep. And if that's the case, I want Hawkins, right? I want to see if he can go out there, command the offense, and not only get some yards in the air, but also get some yards on the ground. That's who I'm really eyeballing on the offensive side. Then, of course, defensively, it's super simple. You know, I would go with the chalk statement of like a Jaden Jackson, but I'm not. Danny Okoye. I want to see what Danny's going to look like when he gets on the field and if he's really going to terrorize. And when I say terrorize, I mean terrorize all those opposing teams. That's the ones that I'm really excited about. What about you?
Michael Hawkins is a fun one because I don't know if we've seen somebody that has the potential for electricity like him since maybe Kyler was here. You know, somebody who's got as much speed and athleticism at the quarterback position as Michael Hawkins does. Like, Jalen was great. Like, he was a great runner, but I don't think he maybe was as fast as Michael Hawkins. And we know that Caleb was a really good runner as well, but I don't know if he had that kind of same agility, that lateral quickness, that kind of stuff that I think we'll see from Michael Hawkins. So I think Seth Luttrell will get him out in space, yet let him use his legs on some play action bootlegs, things like that. Let him use some, read option stuff, some RPO stuff, get him involved that way and just see what we got. They put a lot of faith in him to be the backup quarterback. And so now it's time to kind of put that faith to the test a little bit. And I'm with you, man. I'm excited to see him. I want to see the safety duo, the Bash brothers, man. Reggie Powers and Michael Boganowski.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that, we've been talking a lot about those two dudes all off season long. They've kind of lived up to expectations so far in spring ball and fall camp and continually created buzz for themselves. And I think you're going to get an opportunity to see those two, and you're not going to experience a whole lot of tenacity drop off when you go from your starters to those two true freshmen.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I was hoping running back room we'd see a little bit more, right, out of it. But at the same time, we understand we've got some pretty good depth there, right? I think the offensive line will definitely probably see like an EPL, a
Ooh,
Eugene
yeah,
Brooks, a Josh
that's gonna be a
Isosa,
fun one.
right? I expect to see one of those three. I would kind of like to see EPL kind of show up in some random, offensive formations, just for fun. See if we can
Yeah.
put the big man back there and let him run down somebody's throat. That would be a good time. But I do expect to see some freshmen actually play on the offensive line late in the game. So I'm kind of curious to see how they handle their first time on the field, being underneath the lights at the Palace on the Prairie, and just take it all in, right? I can totally see I could see those offensive linemen, like I said, getting in there, and I'm ready to see if they're ready to, seize that moment. But the Bash Brothers is a really good one because, boy, those two, I expect them to play. They're like, you kind of have to. And I think it's less about like needing them in game, more so doing it for the fans. You got to do it for the fans. After we saw what Boganowski did in the spring game, fans are calling for him. They're gonna be calling for Baba Yaga or the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
You kind of got to put them on the field for the people.
And I think Brent Venables and Zach Alley and Brandon Hall are going to want him to let him kind of unleash some of that pent up physicality on somebody other than his own teammates.
Right.
His
Josh Allen
teammates
had
on the offensive side of the
PTSD.
ball are like, finally, like, he can go hit somebody else now, please. Like, we're tired of him hitting us. David Stone's another one, dude. I know that's kind of the easy one, the layup right there. But especially after Brent Venables talked about how hard he worked this offseason, his first offseason with the Sooners, saying nobody works harder than David Stone. Dude, I think that's high praise. So even if the kid is not a starter and, he's going to be part of the rotation at defensive tackle, but I'm excited to see what we got in him so far and what kind of potential he has just this season. Like we've always talked about, the developmental track for everybody is not the same. And so just because fellow freshman Jaden Jackson's starting and David Stone's not, that doesn't say anything about David Stone whatsoever. But I am excited to see what he's got and what he's going to be capable of this season. Anybody that isn't a freshman that you're looking forward to seeing what they look like now that they've had another offseason with Jerry Schmidt and Brent Venables and this staff?
Kip Lewis.
Yeah.
I'm ready to see if Kip is ready to take that next step up at the linebacker spot. Kobe McKenzie and Lewis Carter. All three of those are the guys that I'm really curious to see if they're ready to take that step up and actually kind of seize the spot right there next to Danny Stutzman. And I also want to see if Jaren Canning. So if I really think about it, the entire linebacker room, I really want to see what they look like and see if they're able to control those positions that they need to. Because we all know the importance of the linebacker spot in a Brent Venables defense, right? That's like really critical to running it. You have to be in your position if you want the system to work. And if these guys are out there able to command it, our linebacker room should be terrifying.
I want to see some good old like Baltimore Ravens 5 linebacker sets, like with Dominic Williams at nose tackle, and then Danny and Kip and Jaren and Kobe and Lewis Carter or Sam Omasigo. Like, I want to see something interesting like that because you're so deep at linebacker that you have the ability and the luxury to get a little bit creative to where the offense doesn't know where that second, third, fourth, or fifth rusher is going to come from and who's going to drop. I think that could be a really, really interesting deployment of that group. If we're talking about guys that have been in the program, another one, man, I want to see Jake Taylor. Like, this is a 4-star product that you've had in your program now for several years, and now's his time. Now's the opportunity for him to take that step and become a significant part of Bill Bedenbaugh's offensive line. What does he look like? I mean, he's got the frame, he's got the size, like all the measurables are right there. I've heard nothing but glowing things about him and his ability all offseason. Is he ready to take that step? Because you're going to need him. You're going to need him to take a big, big step for you. So what are we looking for? What are the keys to this game for us as OU goes against Temple? We'll pick the game against the spread. We'll also tell you which week 1 games we're most looking forward to watching. Coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
I'm not going to lie. After work, John, I be struggling. But I need to get to the gym because I desperately need to get in there and get myself in shape. It's football season, baby, so I got to be there for it. And the best thing about it to get me there, 5-Hour Energy. Grab one of them out of my pantry, chug it, get myself wired up, run to the gym, hit that treadmill, hit that bench press. So it helps me out with getting myself prepared for a workout after a long day of work. Even better though, I love that I don't have a crash. It's got 0 sugar and it's very convenient, portable size. It's a perfect pick me up to get stuff done. I'll get my workout in, I'll come home, I'll clean, then we'll record, and boom, I'm still going because of 5-Hour Energy. They've got great flavors: watermelon, tropical burst, grape. I like the orange. Don't act that way. Don't act that way. The orange is still good, even though, the competition wears it, but they got a ton of flavors on there. And on their site, you also got the option to build your own with a 12-pack or a 24-pack of flavors. And so they'll deliver that right to your door. So you got to check it out. If you'll go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy products, 5-Hour Energy products today. You can also use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB and receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good for subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today.
It's game day. The 2024 season is upon us. Do not show up to your tailgate or your friend's watch party looking shabby. Make sure you go to Home Field. Home Field is getting you ready with some of the best and the most comfortable vintage apparel around, getting you ready for everything that's going to happen in the 2024 season.
And they're hooking everybody up, man. They've got these boxes that they're making right now. The boxes include stuff like this awesome hoodie, lots of vintage throwback gear. And if you get the platinum box, if it's still available, those VIP units include an additional, like a new hat or a ringer for only platinum VIPs only. You also get a koozie, which is pretty cool. Take that to the game with you and see how many people ask you about it. Plus, you'll get the Platinum Pass, which guarantees 20% off and early access. That means you don't miss out on any of their apparel before it gets sold out to your school's football releases throughout the 2024 season.
So get for an exciting season ahead with Home Field by going to homefieldapparel.com for the most comfortable vintage Oklahoma Sooners apparel around. Use our promo code Sooner24 for a discount at checkout over at homefieldapparel.com. And thank you once again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Again, shout out to all the everydayers tuning in with us. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Jay, week 1, man, it is always so wonderful to get to this moment. And I'm just thrilled again to be able to cover this team with you guys here that follow along on the show and with Jay. It's our first football season together. Excited about it and what Oklahoma is going to bring to the table, but we're going to be bringing it for you here every day. So Jay, give me what your keys to this game are going to be for the Oklahoma Sooners.
The key things is offensively establishing the run early. Get out there, run the ball, just run it down the throat, period. The offensive line needs to be able to move GT counters, whatever you got to do. Get those inside zones going, run the ball, establish the run. That's how you establish your dominance, right? Mm-hmm. The running game and defense always travels. We're not traveling, but if we can make sure we're establishing that, that's going to set a great blueprint for the rest of the season. Next thing is Jackson Arnold needs to make sure he minimizes any mistakes, right? Like there was concerns coming out of camp about decision making, but he was also going against potentially a top 5, 10, 20 defense in the country. So he's going up against some of the best, and they know him. They know his playbook. They know what he's going to do. So the best way to prevent them from, prevent him from making a lot of these mistakes is that he's not going to go against that same thing. But what he's going to need to do is focus and just not sling it, but get some yards and get some plays going. But I think establishing the run is probably the keyest thing, the most key thing. Defensively, though, that one to me is going to require a lot of dominance. I mean, a lot of dominance. What are you thinking about on that offensive and defensive side that's key for this game?
Yeah, I think for both sides of the ball, it's just doing what you need to do. Just executing where you need to execute. Don't do more than what you're asked. Stay true to your keys. Whether you're a defensive lineman and you're responsible for a gap, or you're two gapping and you're responsible to hold up an offensive lineman, just do that. You don't have to make every single play, and don't play like you have to make every single play. Trust the system, trust the schemes, and just go do your job. That's what I want to see, because it's that kind of discipline to do your job that's going to help this team move forward. For Jackson Arnold, like, I don't want him to press, man. I don't want him to force anything, trying to prove a point against Temple. I don't need him to prove anything against Temple. I just need the offense to just be efficient. When the play's there that's to be made, make the play. If you're getting some pressure, get rid of the ball. Like, you don't have to make every single play. It's going to be okay. Even if that first series is a 3-and-out, fine. I'd rather have that than a Spencer Rattler turnover interception down the sideline on the first play of the game.
100% agree. 100% agree there.
Ball. Just go play ball and have fun, really. That's really what it comes down to for me. Just go play ball, have fun. Everybody's been itching for this. We have, the fans have, I know the players have. Like, the players have been itching for this. Just relax, go play ball, have fun, and let the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, look at this game similar to they did with Arkansas State, right? We went out there, we exerted our dominance, we showed that we had the capabilities. That's what Jackson Arnold needs to do. He needs to go out there with a similar comfort or similar calmness, and if anything, just get light plays. I mean, you honestly, checking down, it's fine. That's a good way to just get yourself in a rhythm, get your shoulder warm, and feel good about the decisions you're going to go out there. And then you can launch one deep to Brennan Thompson, in which I expect at least two bombs to Brennan as well as a Deion Burks. We're going to get it, but don't, like I said, don't force it. Go out there, play your game, play the game that you know you want to play. Take your time. I think they'll see success.
Yeah, there'll be time where you need to force a ball into a window. Just go get comfortable. Just go play ball. Do the thing you've been doing for a lot of years and just take it easy. This should not exert a whole lot of stress and tension. All right, Oklahoma is a 42.5-point favorite, according to FanDuel. Jay, do you have them covering the spread in this one?
So I initially had them covering the spread. Now we have this weather thing where it looks like there's a potential between 15 and 45% chance of some rain around the beginning of the game, right? It's just all over the place, right? Nobody knows what it is. So because of that, I'm going to say we do cover the spread. What am I doing, right? You think I'm going to pretend like we're... No, yes! This should be 49-0. Like, what are we talking about here, right? You know what I'm saying? It should be that simple. I think we should score at least 2 defensive touchdowns in this game.
I think this is a game where if Oklahoma wanted to go run the ball 50 times and only throw it like 10 to 15 times, they could still put up 50 points and be just fine. I think they'll play with tempo, especially in the first half. I think they'll play with tempo even when Michael Hawkins gets into the game, just to let him get a feel for that tempo in game action against other competition. So I do think they'll run a lot of plays, and I think there will be a big, big day on the ground for the rushing attack. The best way to get your offensive linemen in sync and in a groove is to run the dang football. Offensive linemen love to do one thing and one thing only, and that's go forward. Will they pass block? They'll do it. They'll do it, and they might even say they love to pass block. But what offensive linemen really, really love to do, that's run block. And they want to get after guys. They want to be the initiator, not be on the defensive. And Seth Luttrell knows this. Former fullback Seth Luttrell knows that what he wants to do is get his offensive lineman going downhill. So we both got Oklahoma covering the spread. I think they're probably going to win something like 56-6, maybe, if they even give up 6. It's going to be a big time blowout. Do you have a score for it?
I've got 56-0. Okay. I expect a goose egg in this game. If we're not goose egging them, I am very disappointed. Now, what makes me want to even stick closer to like a 49 and take the under, because I think the over under is at like 50. Was it 59 right now? I think it's around 57.5. So yeah, so 57.5. I'm anticipating the under. So 56 is a good number there. I think that we're going to just control the clock with the run game. I mean, like you said, Luttrell loves to run it. He leverages his tight ends, especially in the flats and across the middle. So you're going to get a lot more short passes in comparison to what we're used to, a lot of 10 and 15-yard throws. He'll probably spend more time, unfortunately, being like DJ Uiagalelei and throw a lot of short passes. It's most likely what's going to happen, because it doesn't make any sense to go deep all the time, right? Just run that clock, get in there, win the game, get out healthy. And I think that's the most important part. So with all the running, I'm going to say under. I'll say 56-0. We'll keep it at that.
Yeah, I think they go over, but yeah, I think just over. All right, give me the game that you're watching this weekend that's not OU Temple.
Game to watch this weekend, not OU Temple, is going to be LSU USC, right? Okay, hey, calm down, y'all. Calm down. I'm not saying anything about, USC or LSU in this game, but I think that's a game definitely to watch because it's going to be intriguing to see what the season turns out to be for both teams, actually, right? Defensively, we got questions about LSU. USC, we got questions about Miller Moss taking over the new offense because this will be Lincoln Riley's second? Well, no, actually it's his first quarterback. Actually, correction, my apologies. He didn't recruit Miller Moss. Miller Moss is already there. So he's going to be taking somebody else's quarterback again, and we're going to see if he's able to produce another big-time quarterback play out of it. So with LSU's defensive questions, I think, and USC's offensive questions, it's going to be interesting to see who actually shows out this year.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to be looking at Georgia Clemson, but the one that I'm most interested in the SEC is Notre Dame at Texas A&M.
There's
a lot of love for Texas A&M all of a sudden over the last few weeks to make the college football playoff, potentially be a contender in the SEC. Well, if that's going to hold up and be true, they got to beat Notre Dame at home. And if they don't beat the Irish at home, you could probably chalk up the Aggies as a pretender for 2024. But there's a lot of great games just in the SEC this week, but all over college football this weekend. You also got Penn State, West Virginia is going to be a really
the Backyard Bowl or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's Pitt, West Virginia, but I think we get Penn State, West Virginia this year or this week. But I do think we get Pitt, West Virginia later, maybe next week or the week after. I can't remember. West Virginia's got one of those tough schedules, but they're Big 12. We don't even care about that anymore. But yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend of college football. Hope everybody enjoys it. We will be back next week to break it all down with you here on Locked On Sooners. So make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all the social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, /X. Also go subscribe to the Locked On Sooners Insider Program by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711, and you'll get 25% off your first month by using our promo code SEC 2024. Again, that's 405-817-6711 over at the Locked On Sooners Insider Program. But until next time, hope you all enjoy Game 1, Week 1, Friday night versus Temple. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you soon. Boomer.
Sooner.